The medical bay of the starship Horizon's Edge was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines. Dr. Moore stood over the examination table, looking at the strange woman lying there. She was not human. Her skin was a soft blue color that seemed to glow under the lights. Her hair was silver like liquid metal spread across the white pillow. She was beautiful in a way that humans had never seen before. But she was dying. Lieutenant Commander Cole stood near the door, watching. He was the one who had brought her aboard. 3 hours ago, they had found her escape pod floating in empty space near the outer colonies. Her ship had been destroyed. Someone had attacked her and left her to die alone in the darkness between stars. Had broken protocol by bringing her onto their ship. He knew this. But when he had opened her pod and seen her lying there, barely breathing, he could not leave her. Before she lost consciousness, she had whispered one word that the translator could not fully understand, but it sounded like princess. Captain Laura walked into the medical bay. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen many strange things in 30 years of space exploration, but even she looked worried now. "What do we know?" she asked. Dr. Moore shook his head slowly. "Her biology is completely different from ours. I have never seen anything like it. Her blood is crystallizing inside her body. Whatever keeps her alive is failing, and I cannot stop it." "How long does she have?" 2 hours, maybe less. Stepped forward. He had carried this woman from her pod to the medical bay. He had felt her hand grip his arm with surprising strength before she faded away. There had been something in her violet eyes, a desperate plea that went beyond words or language. "Is there anything we can try?" he asked. "I have tried everything in our database," the doctor said. "Nothing works. Her cellular structure is breaking down, and I do not have the knowledge to stop it." Looked at the dying woman. Her breathing was shallow now. Her blue skin was turning pale. Time was running out. "What about human blood?" he asked. Dr. Moore looked at him like he had gone crazy. "Human blood? In an alien? That is impossible. We have no idea what would happen. It could kill her instantly. It could kill you during the extraction process." "She is dying anyway," said. "I am O-negative, universal donor. If there is even a small chance that something in our biology could help stabilize hers, should we not try?" Captain studied her lieutenant commander carefully. She had known for 5 years. He was not a man who took foolish risks without reason, but this was different. This was completely unknown territory. "The diplomatic problems alone," she began but cut her off. "A dead princess creates worse problems. If her people come looking for her and discover that we let her die when we might have saved her, that is not a first contact situation anyone wants." Dr. Moore rubbed his tired eyes. "I would need to break down your blood first, separate it into basic parts, isolate the cells that might help her. It would not be a direct transfer, more like introducing human genetic material into her failing system." "Then do it," Captain said finally. She looked at with serious eyes. "But you understand what you are risking. If something in her blood reacts badly with yours, we could lose you both." Was already rolling up his sleeve. "Then we should not waste any more time." The procedure took 45 minutes. Dr. Moore extracted almost a full liter of blood. He processed it through machines that were never designed for this purpose. Then he carefully introduced the modified blood into the princess's body through a special injection system. For 20 long minutes nothing happened. Sat in a chair nearby, feeling weak from the blood loss but refusing to leave. He watched the monitors. The numbers kept falling. Her heart rate slowed. Her cellular breakdown continued. Then her eyes opened. They were violet, deep and ancient, like looking into a purple sunset that had lasted for 1,000 years, and they found immediately. She spoke in a language that the universal translator could not understand. The words were musical and strange, but something passed between them in that moment, a connection that neither of them could explain. Her hand reached out slowly and took it without thinking. Where their skin touched, a faint glow began to pulse. It was soft at first, barely visible. Then it grew brighter, spreading from their joined hands up their arms. "What is happening?" Captain demanded. Dr. Moore was frantically checking his instruments. "Her cellular breakdown has stopped." "No, wait, it is revering. Her body is healing itself, and her blood is changing. It is not crystallizing anymore. It is adapting, taking on properties of human blood while keeping its original structure." The princess smiled weakly. She spoke again, and this time the translator caught some of the words. "Gratitude, life debt, bonded." "Bonded," repeated. "What does that mean?" But the princess had closed her eyes again, falling into a deep sleep. Her breathing was strong now. Her skin had returned to its healthy blue glow. Whatever had been killing her was gone. Dr. Moore ran test after test. The results made no sense according to everything he knew about biology. Human and alien cells were not supposed to combine like this. They were not supposed to help each other. But somehow, this blood had not just saved her life. It had merged with her biology in a way that created something new. "There is something else," the doctor said quietly, looking at his screens with confusion. "The connection is not one way. Her cells are producing something now, a protein we have never seen before, and your body is producing the same protein." "What does that mean?" "I do not know yet, but whatever happened when your blood mixed with hers, it changed both of you. You are linked somehow, on a biological level that I cannot fully understand." Looked at the sleeping princess. She seemed peaceful now, no longer fighting for her life. He should have felt worried about what the doctor was telling him. He should have felt scared about what this unknown connection might mean. But all he felt was a strange sense of rightness, like something that was supposed to happen had finally happened, like a door that had been closed his entire life had suddenly opened. Captain put her hand on his shoulder. "Get some rest. You lost a lot of blood. Whatever comes next, you will need your strength." He nodded and stood to leave. But at the door, he stopped and looked back at the alien woman one more time. He did not know her name. He did not know her people or her world. He did not know what enemies had tried to kill her or why. But he knew, with a certainty that came from somewhere deeper than thought, that his life had just changed forever. He had given his blood to save a dying stranger, and somehow, in ways he could not yet understand, she had given him something back. The soft glow where they had touched still lingered on his palm. Closed his hand around it like a secret and walked out into the corridor of the ship, leaving the princess to her healing sleep. Outside the windows, the stars burned cold and distant. But for the first time in his life, Cole did not feel alone among them. 3 weeks had passed since the blood transfer. Princess of the Empire had recovered completely. Her strength had returned. Her blue skin glowed with health. She walked the corridors of the horizon's edge like she belonged there. But she refused to leave the ship. Captain had tried many times to contact the Empire. She wanted to return the princess to her people, but stopped her every time. "They will find me when it is time," she would say in her careful English. She learned the language quickly, faster than any human could learn a new tongue. "For now, I must stay near him." Him was always. At first, the crew thought it was simple gratitude. He had saved her life. Of course, she felt attached to him, but the truth was stranger and more complicated than anyone understood. When and were apart for more than a few hours, both of them became weak. They felt dizzy and confused. Pain spread through their bodies like fire. The only cure was to be near each other again. Dr. Moore had studied this problem for weeks. He ran hundreds of tests. He analyzed their blood and their cells and their brain patterns. Finally, he called them both to the medical bay to explain what he had found. "Your blood did not just save her life," he told. "It merged with her biology on a deep level, and the process created a feedback loop between you." "What does that mean?" asked. "Both of you are now producing a unique protein. Neither humans nor make this protein naturally. Your bodies created it together when your blood mixed, and now you need each other to regulate it. If you are apart too long, the protein builds up and becomes toxic. Nodded slowly. She did not seem surprised. Among my people, this is called blood bonding. It is sacred. It is only done between rulers and their most trusted guardians. The bond creates a link that goes beyond distance. It allows shared thoughts and feelings. But this has never happened between and another species, Dr. Moore asked. Never. We did not think it was possible. Human biology was considered too different from ours, too primitive. She looked at with something like wonder in her violet eyes. We were wrong. Sat with this information for a long moment. He was tied to this alien woman now, not by choice but by biology. Their lives were linked in ways neither of them had planned. Why were you running? He asked. It was the question everyone wanted answered, had avoided it many times, but now with everything in the open, she could not avoid it anymore. She was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was heavy with pain. My father was the emperor of the. He ruled wisely for 200 years, but 6 months ago he was killed, assassinated by my brother. Your own brother killed your father. Believes he should rule alone. He wants absolute power. The way has always been shared rule between royal siblings, but wants to change this. He is killing everyone with royal blood. I am the last one left. He destroyed your ship, said, understanding now. He killed my guards. He left me to die in the cold of space. He thought no one would find me. A small smile crossed her face. He did not expect humans. Dr. Moore looked between them nervously. If this finds out she is here, will he come for her? He will come, said simply. He has no choice. As long as I live, his claim to the throne is not complete. He will send ships. He will send soldiers. He will not stop until I am dead. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. The horizon's edge was an exploration ship. It had some weapons, but it was not built for war. Against a battle fleet, they would not last long. We should contact Earth, Captain said. Ask for military support. Your military cannot match technology, said. Your ships are strong, but ours are stronger. One warship could destroy 10 of yours. Then what do we do? Asked. Stood and walked to where he sat. She knelt before him so their eyes were level. When she spoke, her voice was different, stronger, more certain. When we bonded, I did not just take from you. We exchanged. I feel things now that do not normally feel. I feel hope when there is no logical reason for hope. I feel the stubborn belief that one person can change history. She put her hand on his chest over his heart. Your people call this the human spirit. My people have studied it for centuries. We never understood it. Now it runs through me like blood. What are you saying? I am saying that when my brother comes, and he will come, we will face him together. And he will not expect what two bonded souls from different worlds can do. As if the universe heard her words, the ship's alarms suddenly screamed to life. Red lights flashed in the medical bay. Captain's voice crackled over the speakers. All hands to battle stations. We have incoming ships, warships, 6 of them. His face went hard like stone. Has found me. Grabbed his weapon and moved toward the door, but caught his arm and pulled him back. Wait, there is something you must understand before we face them. The bond between us is not complete. It requires one final act to fully awaken. If we do this, we will be connected forever. Mine will shorten to match yours. Your abilities will expand to match mine. We will truly become one being in 2 bodies. What act? Asked. She pulled him close and pressed her forehead against his. Through the contact, he felt her emotions flooding into him, her fear of losing him, her hope that he would choose this path, her knowledge of what they could become together. A willing exchange, she whispered, blood freely given and received by both, not to save a life this time, but to share one. The ship shook as the first warning shots hit their shields. Time was running out. Did not need to think. He drew his knife and made a small cut on his palm. Then he guided to do the same. Their hands pressed together, blood mixing with blood. The world exploded into white light. Energy poured through like nothing he had ever felt. He could sense the ship around him like it was part of his own body. He could feel every crew member, their fear and their courage. He could feel his mind touching his, becoming part of him as he became part of her. When the light faded, Cole was not the same man he had been before, and the galaxy was about to learn what happened when human determination merged with power. The 6 warships were approaching fast, but smiled as he looked at them through the ship's sensors. They had no idea what was coming. They expected to find a weak human ship and a dying princess. Instead, they were about to meet something new, something that had never existed in all the long history of the stars. They were about to meet humanity's answer to their empire. Cole had always thought of himself as an ordinary man. He was good at his job. He was loyal to his crew, but he had never considered himself special or powerful. He was just a soldier doing his duty among the stars. As the white light faded from his eyes, he understood how wrong he had been. The bond with had fully awakened now. He could feel her mind wrapped around his like a warm blanket. Her thoughts touched his thoughts. Her memories mixed with his memories. They were still 2 people, but they were also something more. Something connected in ways that words could not describe. But that was not all. Could feel the ship around him as if it were an extension of his own skin. He sensed the hum of the engines, the pulse of the shields, the electricity running through every wire and circuit. And beyond the ship, he could feel the minds of everyone aboard. Their fear, their determination, their trust in each other. "What is happening to me?" he whispered. "The awakening," answered, her voice echoing both in the air and inside his head. "You are feeling what royalty can feel, but mixed with something we have never experienced before. Your human consciousness is amplifying the bond beyond what should be possible." There was no time to explore these new abilities. The enemy ships were almost in weapons range. Touched his communicator. "Captain, I am coming to the bridge. Do not engage the enemy yet. We are 6 to 1. We cannot wait. Trust me, please." He and moved through the corridors together. They did not need to speak out loud anymore. Their thoughts flowed between them like water. She showed him how to use his new senses. He showed her the stubborn human refusal to accept defeat. On the bridge, Captain watched the approaching fleet with grim determination. The horizon's edge was not a battleship. It was built for exploration, not war. Against 6 warships, they had no realistic chance of survival. The door opened and entered with beside him. Everyone on the bridge turned to look at them and then froze in shock. Both of them had changed. Their eyes held a strange light, a depth that had not been there before. They moved in perfect harmony like 2 parts of one body. "Captain said, I request permission to speak with my brother's fleet." "You think talking will help against those ships?" "No, but it will buy time for what must happen next." Captain looked at. He was her officer, her responsibility. But the man standing before her now seemed like someone else entirely, someone more. "What exactly are you planning?" she asked. Smiled, and it was the smile of someone who had seen beyond the normal limits of existence. "The believe humans are weak. They have watched us from far away for centuries. They think they understand us. They are about to learn how wrong they are." The communication channel opened. A face appeared on the main screen. Prince was beautiful in the cold way of all royalty. His features were sharp like cut glass. His eyes held nothing but contempt for everything he saw. "Sister," he said, his voice dripping with false sweetness, "you survived longer than I expected. Surrender yourself now, and I will give your human pets a quick death." Stepped forward. Her voice was ice and steel. "Brother, you murdered our father, you dishonored our bloodline, and you made the greatest mistake of your life." "What mistake is that?" "You drove me to bond with a human." Laughed. The sound was sharp and mocking. "A human. You contaminated yourself with inferior blood. This is even better than I hoped. When I bring your body back to the people will thank me for removing such weakness from the royal family. The bond is complete. We have fully awakened." The mockery died on his face. "Impossible. The awakening requires years of preparation, perfect compatibility. A human could not survive the process." And yet here he stands, stepped forward into his view. For the first time, the prince truly looked at the human before him. What he saw made him take a step backward in surprise. His eyes had changed. They still held their human warmth, but now they also carried traces of the violet light that marked royalty. And beneath that light burned something else. Something had never seen in all his years of conquest. A fire that refused to die. "You have studied humans from far away," said. "You watched us fight each other. You watched us struggle to reach the stars. You saw our violence and called us primitive, but you missed something important." "And what is that, human?" "We do not quit. We do not surrender. We have faced extinction many times and survived through pure stubborn will. Your empire grew slowly over thousands of years of careful planning. Ours was built by people who refused to accept that impossible things could not be done." His voice carried across space, reaching every ship in his fleet. "Your sister's blood runs through me now, but my blood runs through her too. And that means your royal bloodline now carries the one thing your people have always lacked." Stood beside him. Their hands joined, and the glow at their contact point flared bright enough to light up the entire bridge. "The human spirit," she finished. "Adaptable, relentless, impossible to truly destroy." His face twisted with rage. Destroy them all." The warships moved forward, weapons charging with deadly energy, but was already reaching out with his new abilities. Not physically, but through the bond, through the connection that now linked his mind to and beyond. He touched the minds of his crews, not to control them or hurt them, but to show them something. He opened the bond wide and broadcast everything he was, his memories of Earth, his love for his family and friends, his hopes and fears and dreams, the simple human desire to connect with others, to understand and be understood. And through his memories, he showed them what had really done. The assassination of their beloved emperor, the betrayal of sacred traditions, the murder of loyal guards who had served the royal family for generations. The first warship powered down its weapons, then the second. By the time understood what was happening, 4 of his 6 ships had stopped their attack. "What is this?" screamed. "I command you to fire." "You command nothing." The voice came from one of his own captains, her face appearing on a split screen. "The blood bond does not lie. We have seen the truth of your crimes. We have seen what the princess and her human have become. The old ways are ending, Prince. Something new is beginning." Ship and one remaining loyal vessel turned and fled into hyperspace. The other captains let him go. There would be time to deal with him later. For now, the fighting was over. On the bridge of the horizon's edge, the crew stood in shocked silence. They had prepared themselves to die. Instead, they had witnessed something impossible. A revolution sparked not by weapons but by the willing vulnerability of 2 connected hearts. Captain was the first to speak. "What just happened?" He turned to her. His eyes still held that strange new light, but his smile was the same one she had known for years. "I think we just changed the galaxy, Captain, and I believe we are only getting started." Through the bond, thoughts touched his with warmth and wonder. Neither of them knew what the future would bring, but they knew they would face it together, human and 2 hearts beating as one. The stars outside the window seemed brighter now, full of possibility instead of cold emptiness, full of hope. 6 months had passed since the battle with his fleet. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The empire did not collapse, but it broke into pieces. The captains who had refused to fire on and spread word of what they had witnessed. A human bonded to a princess of the royal blood. a man who could broadcast truth itself across the emptiness of space. The story traveled faster than any ship could fly. Still controlled part of the empire. His followers believed in the old ways of purity, but many others had turned away from him. They wanted to know more about these strange humans who could merge their spirits with royalty. The colony world of New Eden became the meeting place for this new future. The planet had been built to hold 50,000 human settlers. Now it held twice that number, and more arrived every month. Humans and lived side by side in an experiment that no one had planned but everyone was watching. Walked through the central marketplace of the main city. He could not go anywhere without being noticed now. His eyes still carried that strange mix of human warmth and violet light. People pointed at him. They whispered his name. He had become famous whether he wanted to be or not. "You are thinking too loudly again," his voice echoed in his mind, gentle and amused. "Sorry, it is still strange having someone else in my head. I could pull back if you want privacy." "No," the answer came without hesitation. Whatever they had become it together. The thought of being alone in his mind again felt wrong, empty. He found at the medical research center that Dr. Moore now ran. The old doctor had taken to his new work with great enthusiasm. Understanding biology had become his life's purpose. Every week brought new discoveries. The healing abilities alone could add decades to human. Dr. Moore was explaining to a group of human and scientists. And their brain structure suggests possibilities for mental connection that we never imagined. And human creativity is changing our technology, a scientist added. Our methods were perfect but rigid. Your willingness to fail and try again opens paths that our thinking had closed. This was what it hoped for. Not just two species living near each other, but truly learning from each other, becoming better together than either could be alone. Ambassador Cole. The title still felt strange, but he had accepted it when Earth's government offered. Someone needed to guide the growing relationship between humans and the bond made him the obvious choice. He turned to find Commander Grace walking toward him. She had been his colleague on the horizon's edge, but now she led the security forces on New Eden. Her face told him the news was not good. He asked, "Our spies say he is building something, some kind of weapon. The reports are not clear about what it is." "He will not stop," said, joining them. "My brother believes the universe chose him to lead our people into a new age, a pure age. He sees the mixing of our species as contamination that must be burned away." "How much of the fleet does he still control?" "About 1/3, but 1/3 of our fleet is still more firepower than humanity can match." She spoke without judgment, simply stating facts. If he attacks the colonies directly, regular defense will not be enough. Felt the familiar weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He had not asked to become the symbol of human unity, but he had accepted it, and now he had to live up to it. "Then we do not fight in a regular way," he said. "The awakening showed us what is possible when we share ourselves fully. What if we have only seen the beginning?" His eyes widened as she caught his thought through their bond. "You want more bonds, willing pairings between humans and not just pairs, a network, connected minds working together, sharing strengths, covering weaknesses, has warships. We could have something he cannot fight with weapons. The risks are enormous. We barely survived our bonding, and we were unusually compatible. If others try it without proper preparation, they could die. Then we prepare them properly." Took her hands, feeling the pulse of their connection grow stronger. "You said the old ways are ending. Let us build the new ways together." The first volunteers came forward within days. Humans who had formed close friendships with refugees. Pairs who had already built the trust that made bonding possible. Dr. Moore created careful steps based on his experience. He refined the process. He reduced the dangers. Not every attempt worked. 3 pairs failed to achieve full awakening, though all survived. But 12 pairs succeeded, and each success sent waves through both populations. The bonded pairs developed different abilities depending on their individual natures. Some gained the power to communicate mind to mind across great distances. Others became physically stronger and faster than either species alone. A few discovered they could connect directly with machines, controlling technology through pure thought. And each pair could touch the others through the network that and anchored, not controlling each other, not invading each other's minds, but connected. A web of awakened consciousness spreading across New Eden and reaching toward the stars. "It is beautiful," Grace said, watching a training session where bonded pairs practiced using their abilities together. "And terrifying. You are creating something that could change the balance of power in this whole part of space." "That is the point," replied. "Thinks about power over others. We are building power with others. That is not just a different plan. It is a different way of existing. And if someone finds a way to corrupt the network, to turn it into a weapon?" It was a fair question, one that kept awake at night. The bond required openness. It could not be forced or faked, but openness was also risk. "We are gambling," he admitted, "betting that connection is stronger than control, that trust can grow large enough to match fear." He watched guide a newly bonded pair through their first shared meditation. "But humanity has always been a gambling species. We bet on each other even when the chances look impossible. That is how we reached the stars in the first place." Grace was quiet for a long moment. "I want to volunteer for the bonding program." Looked at her in surprise. I thought you were doubtful about all this." "I am, but being doubtful is not the same as refusing. There is an engineer I have been working with. Her name is, we have become close." She smiled slightly. "And if this is the future, I would rather help build it than watch from the outside." 2 weeks later, Grace and completed their bond. Their awakening brought new abilities to the network. They could sense danger before it arrived. They could predict threats before they became real. It was Grace who first detected the approaching fleet, 3 days before it reached normal sensor range. Her thoughts cut through the network like a knife. "He is coming, and he is bringing everything he has left." The day that would decide the future of two species had finally arrived. The Loyalist fleet came out of hyperspace like a swarm of deadly birds. 47 warships, each one a masterwork of technology perfected over centuries. They formed a perfect circle around a central vessel that was larger than all the others combined. Captain stared at the sensor readings and felt her heart sink. She had brought the horizon's edge back to New Eden when news of the attack reached Earth. The ship had been given new weapons and stronger shields through human cooperation, but looking at the enemy fleet, she knew it would not be enough. "What is that giant ship?" she asked. His voice was tight with worry. "The Purifier, our most powerful warship. My grandfather built it to end wars without fighting them. One demonstration of its power was supposed to convince any enemy that resistance was pointless." "Has it ever been used?" "Once, against a civilization that refused to join the Empire peacefully. Eyes were distant with memories passed down through royal blood. Nothing was left afterward, not even dust." Stood in New Eden's command center, surrounded by screens showing their approaching doom. Around him, the bonded pairs had gathered. 32 pairs now. 64 awakened minds linked together in a web of shared consciousness. It seemed like so few against 47 warships, and a weapon that could destroy worlds. "He is calling us," the communications officer said. His face appeared on the main screen. He had changed since their last meeting. His features were sharper, his eyes harder. There was a wild light in them that had not been there before. He looked like a man who had convinced himself that madness was the same as vision. "Sister," he said, "I give you one final chance. Surrender the human you bonded with. Dissolve this disgusting experiment, and I will grant quick deaths to everyone who has forgotten what it means to be refuse, and I will use the Purifier. Every human on this world, every traitor, every one of your bonded pairs will become atoms scattered across empty space. You would kill your own people, demanded. They are not my people anymore. They chose contamination over purity. They chose weakness over strength. The empire I will build needs neither mercy nor mixed blood. Step beside where the camera could see him. You are afraid. His face twisted with anger. I fear nothing. You are terrified. You spent your whole life believing your species was superior to all others. Now you are watching that belief fall apart. Humans and working together, bonding together, becoming something new, something better. And deep in your heart, you know you cannot compete with it. That is why you came here with a fleet and a world killer, because you cannot beat us any other way. I do not need to beat you, human. I only need to erase you. The screen went dark. Across the enemy fleet, weapons began to charge with killing energy. Closed his eyes and reached into the network. 32 pairs, 64 awakened minds, not enough firepower to match what was coming, but firepower had never been the point. Everyone, he sent through the bond, I need you to trust me, all of you, not just the bonded pairs, everyone on this world. The network began to expand. Not just the awakened, but ordinary humans and who had made New Eden their home. They could not bond the way the pairs had, but they could touch the network. They could add their thoughts and hopes and fears to the shared will. 50,000 minds joined the connection, then 100,000, then more as word spread across the colony. Humans in setting aside their work to join their thoughts with the network, to become part of something larger than themselves. What are we doing? Grace's tactical mind demanded through the link. The awakening showed us what two species can become when they truly share themselves, answered. What happens when we share ourselves with everyone? Not permanent bonds, just one moment of perfect unity. No one has ever tried that. Then let us find out. On the Purifier, watched his fleet move into final attack position with satisfaction. The colony's defenses were active, but they were pathetically weak. A few converted exploration ships, ground weapons that his shields would ignore, nothing that could threaten his armada. My prince, his tactical officer reported, we are detecting unusual energy readings from the colony. Unknown type. Weapons. Uncertain. The pattern does not match anything in our records. It seems to be spreading across the entire population. Frowned, show me. The view changed to show New Eden from space. At first, it looked normal. Lights glittered across the night side of the world like scattered jewels. Then the glow began. It started at the command center and spread outward like ripples on water. But these ripples were made of light, visible even from orbit. They washed across the colony, touching every building, every person, connecting them in a web of brightness that pulsed like a single heartbeat. What is this? Demanded. My prince, the energy readings are beyond our scales. The colony is generating power levels that exceed our entire fleet combined. That is impossible. They do not have reactors capable of that output. The power source appears to be biological. They are somehow converting life energy into directed force. On the surface of New Eden, stood at the center of a storm of light. He was no longer just coal. He was every human who had ever refused to surrender, every who had chosen connection over isolation, every child born on this colony who had never known a universe where their existence was considered impossible. He raised his hand, and 100,000 voices raised with him, not in sound but in will, a single thought amplified beyond anything individual minds could create. We are here, we are together, we will not fall. The light rose from New Eden like a second sun, and reached across space toward the attacking fleet. Had one moment to understand what was happening before the light touched the Purifier. It did not destroy his ship. It did something far more powerful. It connected. Every in the fleet suddenly felt what had shown them before, but beyond measure. They felt the humans of New Eden, their hopes and fears, their love for children and partners and friends. They felt the bonded who had found something beautiful in openness. They felt the entire weight of 100,000 souls demanding not surrender, but understanding. And they felt truth, his hatred, his fear, his willingness to burn worlds to keep his power. Through the light, every member of his fleet saw exactly who they were following and what they were being asked to destroy. The Purifier's weapon powered down. One by one, warships broke formation. Their crews refused to fire on a world that had just shared its heart with them. In the end, only personal guards stayed loyal. 12 ships against a planet that glowed with unified purpose. They fled into hyperspace, and the war was over before a single shot was fired. 1 year later, the treaty was signed on New Eden, in a garden grown from seeds brought by both species. Representatives from Earth's government and the new council stood together as witnesses. The age of empire was ending. The age of connection was beginning. And walked through the garden after the ceremony. Around them played the children of the bonded pairs, human children with traces of features, children whose eyes held human warmth, the first generation of a new people. "Do you ever regret it?" asked. "Your life before was simpler." "Simpler maybe, but smaller." Watched a human girl chase a boy through the flowers, their laughter mixing in the alien air. "I gave my blood to save a dying princess. I did not know it would change everything." "Would you change it if you could?" He pulled her close, feeling their bond pulse with shared happiness. Through the network, he sensed the 100,000 minds that had chosen connection over fear, forever changed by that moment of unity. "Not for anything," he said. "This is what humanity has always been reaching for, even when we did not know it. Not conquest or domination, connection, understanding, the chance to become more than we were alone." Across the galaxy, word spread of what had happened at New Eden. Other species who had watched humanity's violent rise into space began to look again with new interest. If humans could bond with the ancient and powerful, who else might they connect with? What other impossible bridges might they build? The answer, new, was all of them. Every species that could choose openness over isolation. Every civilization willing to risk vulnerability for the chance at unity. He had given his blood to save one dying princess. Now that gift had grown into something that would reshape the stars themselves. The future spread before them, bright and full of possibility, and they would meet it together.